One thing before we begin the video, because I forgot to mention it in my original rant, please make sure to like and subscribe if you do enjoy the content. But I've got, a bit of the usual YouTube gig that we have to do here. But yeah, enjoy the video. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. And if you are new, welcome to the channel for the first time, and I'm happy you could be here. This is a segment of the channel where I just have a little bit of it's very different for me anyway. I just talk to you guys, give my opinions on certain things like certain games, or I might make about other topics as well, try and broaden it, a bit more variety. I might even decide doing some reaction videos to some videos as well, other people's videos as well. But for now, what I want to talk about today is a game I've recently just finished and is currently going on the channel as of recording this, but I hope by the time you guys see this video the series would have been finished. But yes, I have just completed Outlast 2, and for those who have been following the series, thank you very much. We had some very consistent views for the first three videos I think, and then unfortunately it seems to have dropped off on the fourth as of recording. They could still pick up, and I really hope they do, because I was really happy about the direction it was going, and I hope it continues. But let's just go on for it. Let's just talk about Outlast 2. Let's just go into that. So for those who don't know, Outlast 2 is a horror game that was it just kept me on the edge of my seat, and it had me jumping out of it a few times. It was ridiculous, and I was entranced because in the game there's you have two separate stories, two separate plots. There's one with the mystery of Jessica's death, a former schoolmate. And then in reality, although those kind of lines kind of get distorted throughout the game, of you trying to find your wife on an island who has been kidnapped by a bunch of cultists. But now I've finished the game, so I just want to give over my general thoughts and opinions, and then I'm going to do what I usually do on this segment, give it a rating out of 5. Is it a thumbs up? Is it a thumbs down? So the game starts off fairly creepily already. It starts off like black screen, little bit of Jess talking and screaming. It just sets the tone for the whole thing, and it knows you're in for a thrill ride. And then it jumps straight into action with a crashing helicopter. It barely gives you a moment to breathe or even think, but it does introduce the characters fairly well. At the beginning anyway, it does very well with that. So you know who you are, you know what you're doing, you know who you're supposed to care about in that sense. I keep saying praying instead of playing. I knew from playing the previous Outlast I wasn't going to have much time before things started jumping out at me and making me potentially wet myself. There were times that I was so focused on trying to not be scared that when a part of the game did make me jump, you just have to give it a silent round of applause. Like, you have to. It's a credit to how good it is. You can be so focused, and there are people have mentioned in the comments that I just look so, fixated. I look so focused. I don't want to be like, unless it's completely genuine. And there's so many times in this game where I literally am. There was one point when I was just literally, one point where I was glued to what was going on, and I wanted to get it done, but it was just giving me such anxiety. I had to take a break. It really does get you going. What the fuck? So along with the normal gameplay of running around the island, trying to find your somehow pregnant wife with your unborn child, trying to rescue her from religious fanatics, you have these creepy visions of solving a mystery of an old classmate who hung herself. It is eventually, you do eventually find out that your priest/teacher killed her. He was probably doing other things with her that aren't very savoury, but essentially he is a murderer. We know that for a fact. But the game does a very good job of making you question things. And even though the game does leave questions in itself, so for example, there are questions that are never answered in this game. So was the world really ending? And if it was that really because of your unborn child, or born child at this point? So does that mean the crazy religious people weren't so crazy? Like, you never really get a good answer for that. How did your wife become pregnant? Because at the beginning of the game, she wasn't. And even if she was, like, the stage she could have been at, there's no way she gave birth that quickly. But she did. She literally went from nothing to labour within like a day. Literally a day, and it might have been less than a day given how that game played out. So it does leave questions, but also I think it leaves the narrative open for the players to use their imagination and fill in the plot holes themselves, and they can make those decisions for themselves. While sometimes it is nice to get everything wrapped up in a little bow, sometimes it is just nice just to speculate and have everyone come up with their own different theories. So, you know, it's not a bad thing, it's not a good thing. I think it's just a very grey area. But who knows?
I have not gone the right way.
Shit! So with regards to the first game, obviously the graphics have been improved. That is going to happen as sequels go and how games progress, especially when there's a few years apart. So I won't judge it on that. But what I will say is that the mixing of the two plots, the subplot and the main plot, although which is which, but again I think that's up for the player to decide. Mixing the Jessica mystery and mixing the main game, I think that was a really clever move and a really good one, because you begin to wonder just how good of a person the protagonist is. You can begin to wonder how good a person you are. So it is implied at a few points in the game that you are the one that killed Jessica, because it had me questioning it, especially in the phone scene when the tongue was coming out the phone and it was saying how you killed her.
Felt her neck break, you diseased cocksucker.
Oh. No. Well, I'm glad I don't own a landline anymore. And it was a very questioning moment. I was very thinking, like, do I even want to play this character? At this point, you're invested, so you're going to continue on, but you do wonder, is there another twist coming? Obviously, that's not the case, but I think the game does a brilliant way of making you think that. I think it's a brilliant idea. And another thing, it keeps the player engaged and wanting to power on. So a lot of people have made comments about the first Outlast and about how they were just so overwhelmed and so scared they couldn't finish it, and I was one of those at first, I'm not going to lie. But I think what the second game does very well is it uses that subplot and it uses the mystery of Jessica's death to keep the player wanting to continue. So if you were that invested in the mystery, you were more than willing to power through all the jump scares and all the rubbish you have to put through in that Christian world. But the Christian world, which I'm going to call it, I think, does have its own mystery as well. So, like I said, with the end of the world situation with your kid, that turns out to be kind of true. It rained blood. It rained blood. And yes, once a child is born, everything seems okay again, apart from your wife dying. But it rained blood. How do you explain that? You don't. It's never actually fully explained in the game unless you believe the fanatics. Right, the electricity is not out. The electricity's out, but her torch isn't. So I've got, like I said, I've got to give credit to the developers of the game. Fair play with this game. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, even though it was terrifying. And I think the subplot Jessica was a fantastic inclusion. Really fleshed out the game. Really gave the player something to figure out, and it gave them an incentive to carry on through all the bullshit. Because there's a lot of scary shit that happens. So yeah, I was thoroughly impressed with this sequel, and I would definitely recommend it for horror fans, especially if you haven't played it yet. Go and play it. Play the first one. Play Outlast 1, because if you can get through Outlast 1, you can get through Outlast 2. Because Outlast 2, while terrifying, and in some ways more than the first, I think Outlast 1 definitely sets a precedent for it. So if you can get through Outlast 1, you can definitely get Outlast 2. Outlast 2 definitely offers enough new characters and new subplots to make this refreshing and seem almost kind of new, but it's definitely something that no one will complain about. So for these reasons, and the fact that I did enjoy it despite, having aged considerably, I'd give it a 4 out of 5 stars, but it's something that just, it might have caused me anxiety and heart problems, but it's a great game and I can't fault it that much, not really. So let me know your thoughts on this, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think about this game, and if you haven't played the game, what did you think about the playthrough series? What are some of your favourite moments? I'd love to know. Leave me some game suggestions as well, please. I have had one recently, which I'm going to look into. It's my first ever game recommendation, and I'm excited to look into it. And I will let you guys know what that is, hopefully. So, that'll be it for me today, guys. I'll see you next time.